I keep getting a lot of emails from these younger Nigerians, and first generation Nigerian, and they talk a lot about their parents. It's funny. I'm 60 years old with 4 kids, and people, these young kids, feel they can trust me and talk to me about their parents. Right? I used to be a kid once too, I guess. But I also have had my own experiences as a parent. And usually what I tell them is, you know, usually what I tell them is the fact that, look, African parents are not the same as Onyibo or American parents, right? There's a lot of us that kind of like, we've been here a long time, and we kind of understand a little, but our foundation is still that African home training that we all received growing up, yeah? Which is, 1, respect your elders, fundamental, number 1 rule. The second thing is to be compassionate, empathetic, and give grace, you know. And that's one thing I don't see in this newer, younger generation, is like, they don't give their parents grace. They don't understand what the parents have been through. They don't understand that some people walked across the borders of God knows maybe 15, 20 countries, as in walked through Libya and all that to get here. And along the way, there's bound to be trauma, you know, a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, a lot that cannot be explained, yeah? Plus, again, we have the foundation of the African discipline and the African home training and things like that. So just because you're now in America doesn't mean that you forget how you were raised, or you forget the life lessons that you have. And I get that we're not in Africa anymore. But if you guys are just a bit more compassionate and empathetic, and you realize the struggles of your parents, that some of them came here as doctors and, you know, prominent people in their countries, in their cultures, and they became a nobody in America, and they had to start from scratch. I know a lot of people that came here as doctors and they had to go back to university, right? A lot of people, younger people, cannot seem to comprehend that, you know, parents are human. And we've made mistakes, and parents have a lot of harm that has come by them, especially mothers, yeah? Especially mothers, you know. As an African woman that gave birth in America, I wanted my life with my children to be so much fun and empathetic, and we were just going to have a ball. So, of course, I parented from a place of pain. I parented, you know, remember my mother, well, a lot of you guys probably don't know, but my mother left when I was 1. So I've had to go through a whole lot of different people coming through my home. My father had a lot of wives, a lot of children. So I wasn't always number 1 on anybody's list, right? So when I decided to have my children, the most important thing to me was to make sure I never leave my children, was to make sure that I always support them. And because of them is why I worked really hard at becoming successful, right? But they can never understand the sacrifices that I made, because if I had gone home, I mean, forget it. I would have been like revered and, you know, but I also knew I was different. I mean, for a lot of us that are LGBTQ, well, let me just stick to homosexuals, because Nigeria doesn't have problems with transgender in their law books. But as a lesbian woman too, I stayed in this country to be free, so that my children can be free, you know, and can get a better chance at being successful. And as an African woman, nobody ever told me I couldn't do anything. If anything at all, they told me I couldn't be anything without a man by my side. So of course, like many of us that are lesbians, and I like the word, I'm not queer, I'm a lesbian, which means I'm a cis woman that is romantically and erotically attracted to cis women. Or whatever the definition is today is not my definition. I came out like 20 years ago, almost now. But the bottom line is that I just wish that African American children, and I mean African black people with African parents would cut us some slack, yeah? Because I go to TikTok and my heart breaks. I'm watching all these young people abusing their parents, mocking their accents. Honey, you have no idea. All this, you guys get a splinter and you want to cry. Half of us had to do stuff. We had to work with literally a limb almost falling off. People that were doctors and nurses come to America and they become, CNAs, bayas. They become security guard. They do whatever it takes to put food on the table for you guys. They make sure you get what you need. Yeah, we might not be as smart. We might not have the same access. We might not know as much as you do computer-wise. But let me tell you something. If you respect, one of the biggest issues is that, a lot of the young people that come to me, I'm a certified life coach. When they DM me or inbox me, I get a lot from like IG. When they DM me or inbox me and they talk about their parents, I'm like, have you tried to put yourself in your parents' shoes for a moment? Hi, Omolara, have you really tried to put your parents... Imagine your parents working 3 jobs as a nurse, just to be able to put you through school, just to be able to put you in a good neighborhood, just to be able to do whatever. And, don't believe the nonsense you see on social media where a lot of people are, maybe that's one party. They post pictures of them at parties. Maybe that's one party every 3 months or every month that they go to. The average Nigerian mother is too busy working, trying to create a life. And yes, we tell you guys what to do because we've made the mistakes. We try not to allow you to make the mistakes. I'm 60 years old. And let me tell you what I learned in the past 5 years. Let people make their own mistakes. That's how people grow. But it's a life lesson that takes a minute to attain. Bottom line is, do Moji a favor. Auntie Moji, you guys like me. You call me Auntie Moji. Do Auntie Moji a favor and cut your parents some slack, right? See, the same way that you call me Auntie Moji and you think I'm cool like that, some of your parents can be cool like that. Because a lot of your parents, they're afraid for you. People say, oh, my mother didn't want me to go out. Last week, a young woman whose mother told her not to go to New Orleans, snuck out the apartment, ended up in New Orleans, and ended up checking out. See, that child would have been saying to her friends, oh my God, my mom is so mean. My mom is horrible. But honey, at the end of the day, your parents want the best for you. We stay up all night, we pray, we fast, we do this. We'll take 10 jobs to make sure you're okay, which is part of the problem. Because the sense of entitlement is just ridiculous. I know that when I was growing up, my father said to me, I have money, you don't have money. I remember one day I was like mouthing off at a friend of mine. My father checked me right there and said, I owe you nothing but your education. Today, I work with my hands, I do construction, I make jewelry, I make bags, I make clothing, and I do all these things for fun, right? But my real businesses are still there. At the end of the day, your parents want what's best for you. Your parents are, not all parents are amazing parents. I have to tell you, my mother isn't. My mother is, my birth mother is not amazing to me, but she's amazing to the children she raised. And a lot of times what I find is that a lot of us are looking for, right? We're looking for a best friend in our parents. As a young person, you cannot be your parents' best friend. They need to discipline you. They need to guide you. They need to be like your coach. So do Auntie Moji a favor, especially those of you guys that are homosexuals, right? Remember that your parents were raised on religion. Remember that your parents have been brainwashed into believing that being gay is a horrible, nasty, bad thing. Remember that Auntie Moji that you think is cool like that? It took me 40 years, 40 years to own who I am. So when you start to get upset with your parents because they're homophobic or dysphobic, remember, Auntie Moji, it took her 40 years to accept herself. And your parents are so afraid of what society will do to you. So when they're telling you they'll take you to church, I spend half of my day coaching people. For you homosexual youth out there, Try to be compassionate and empathetic. Try to stand in your parents' shoes for 1 minute and understand that if I can be bullied and trolled and abused and bashed all day, every day on social media, the last thing your parents want is for you to go through the same thing. Anytime a young person comes to me and says, Auntie Moji, I'm gay, the first thing I say is, how old are you? Oh, you're 20, 22, 20. I don't even care how old are you. My first question is, what are you doing to give yourself a space in society where you will not be trolled? You'll still be trolled, but at least if you can sustain yourself, you're not at the mercy of other people. So for you homosexuals, I always tell you, go get a trade, go get a job, be self-sufficient, be somebody that's contributing to society. Because if you're straight or gay, it doesn't matter. As long as you are able to feed and fend for yourself, because a parent's worst nightmare is that when they check out, their children are not okay. So even if your father is Dangote or Darosha or Bill Gates, and you don't have education, you don't have grit. See, the mistake a lot of us parents made when we come to America, a lot of people that had walked through the Sudan and walked through Libya and they've been abused and beaten and we don't do that. We don't allow our children to suffer, so they don't understand why we are so particular about them being successful. A lot of people think I'm a snob. Actually, a lot of people tell me I'm a snob. They're like, oh my God, Auntie Moji, you're an elitist. It's not being an elitist. See, for me, it's about becoming the best version of myself. I started off late, which is why I preach to you young people. I'm a certified life coach. I don't make a lot of money off of that because most of my clients can afford me. And what I've decided to do is focus on the youth. I don't spend a lot of my time on social media anymore because, doing live chats, honestly, because the truth is that people only take what is important to them. And I notice that people implement things that they pay for. So when you come to me and tell me, oh, your mother is this, your mother is that, you're going to leave the house, you're going to Japa, I tell you point blank, oh, you will suffer, you will see your mama and call her papa. Because at the end of the day, your parents are there to cushion you for a while. It's not a long-term thing. You can't live in my house and be walking around smoking. You can't live in my house and be walking around half naked. It's not going to work. Because those are my rules. When you get your house, you can do anything you want to do. And by the way, I'm a lesbian. Right? But one thing I learned is that just because I'm a lesbian and the other person is a lesbian does not mean we have the same values or we have the same moral compass or we have the same drive. So choose your friends very carefully and stop believing everything you see on TikTok. Even though I spend a lot of time on TikTok these days because that's where the people I want to talk to are. Do yourselves a favor. Remember that your parents are not going to be here forever. Yeah? Try and remember that. And now, spend quality time with your parents. Because they won't be here forever. And your parents are not your enemy. Trust me. A lot of your parents are not your enemies. Some parents are not cool. Some parents are not nice. Some people... But you have to understand that they have their own trauma. They have their own... And if you don't want a part of that, that's okay. But you don't have to, throw them away like they're garbage. Because I'm sure in your repertoire somewhere, you can find good things that your parents have done for you. Compassion, empathy is very important in life. And remember, your parents, most parents, don't want their children to suffer. So if they're telling you, don't do this, don't do that, like the woman that told her 18-year-old, don't go to New Orleans, and the child ended up, right? It wasn't because they didn't want to get your jiggy on or they didn't want you to do, to have fun. It's because your parents are worried about you. It's because your parents, maybe they're overprotective. Okay, fine. But prove them wrong. Show them that you're responsible and you're not going to be showering for money. Because if you think about it, most people think gay people, especially Nigerian gay people, LGBTQIA, a parent told me yesterday, all trans people are showers. All lesbians in Nigeria are showers. All this, kilo day, all lesbians are not showers. There are more people, straight people, so obviously there's more straight people that are showing. If you ask me though, I'll say more than 50% of Nigerians are shower. one way or the other. If you sleep with somebody for your car, Ashewo. If you go to dinner with somebody and you don't pay, Ashewo. You know me, I believe everybody is an Ashewo. It's all about negotiating and compromising. But the most, jokes apart though, that was a bad joke. And before somebody goes and cuts it and sends it all over in their WhatsApp groups, what I'm trying to say is, if there is a reputation that's been created because of people, because the loudest empty brain, empty mouth, empty vessels are usually the loudest on social media, right? They talk bow. And the representation that we see on social media is not exactly, look, if I'm gay, if my child comes to me today and says, oh, mommy, I'm gay, and they're living in Nigeria, I'll be like, yeah, slow down, go to school, face your studies, become something. Because the people that you will meet along the way will be broken. Fix your mindset. Fix your own mind first before you start making friends. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the LGBTQ Nigerians that I have dealt with, hey God, I'd rather be around homophobes. That's the truth. Our moral compass is down. Everybody is now bisexual because they all want to eat their cake and have it at the same time. And the people that are really gay, you can't even hear their voice anymore. Because what's the word I'm looking for? The people that are playing gay on social media to get attention, to get followers, you know, all these masculine of center women, you can't hear their voice anymore. You don't pafka. All these really gay people, all you hear is, oh, I'm bisexual. They're just looking for toys because their partners are not doing the right thing by them. A lot of them are. And I get that. But if I, as a parent, if my child comes to me today and says, oh, I'm gay, I'll be very worried. Because I have to focus on what the moral compass, the education, I have to focus on, you know, hopefully giving them the right principles so that they don't go through what I went through. And even if you're straight, that's all I focus on. I don't make choices for my kids. I don't tell them what to do. I give them guidance. If they like it, they do it. If they don't like it, let them. That's the way life is today. But cut your parents some slack. Every parent that says, oh, what you're doing is not right does not mean that they hate you. I wish I had a mother that like hounded me and bothered me and, you know, tried to guide me so that you don't end up in America in jail, because black people somehow, we always end up somehow. In Nigeria with HIV, there's a lot, if you know the number of HIV new cases among the youth, it's heart-wrenching. Bottom line is, your parents don't hate you. Your parents, some of your parents are not, they might be homophobic, but you prove them wrong. You do what you're supposed to do and prove them wrong. The more of us that stand up to be counted, that are doing the right things, that are, you know, don't worry about people calling you an elitist. Create your own little world. Even if all you have is 5 friends, you don't need noise. The more noise, the more wahala. The more noise, the more aruwo. You see how I just kind of checked into my own little... Me, I'm just going to be gay by my own self. Me and my wife and my 5 friends or 6 friends. I'm not an activist. I've never been an activist. I thought I was going to try and help, but I don't even know where this movement is going. So, yeah. Bottom line is, your parents have been through a lot, especially those of you in America and they're abroad. If you know how some people get to stay in this country, you will feel sorry for them. So cut your parents some slack. And stop saying, Auntie Moji, why are you so cool? And everybody, my kids don't think I'm cool. They don't. Because I'm their parent. I might be your friend, but I'm their parent. And my kids cannot be my best friend or my friends until they are old enough to understand the concept of your choices determine where you go in life. Look, I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not paying anybody's bills anymore. Don't call Auntie Moji, or Auntie Moji, I want to leave my father's house. Get me an apartment. I've done that in the past. And it didn't work out well. So if you want your parents to be somebody else, it's not going to happen. Kole work. But understand that if you are just a little bit more compassionate, and if you try to do the right things for yourself, make your own decisions, Do what's the, I'm not saying you should go and do the hardest things. I'm saying you should do what is the right things. Watch your parents come around. I told a young man about 3 years ago when he came to me on Clubhouse. Oh, Auntie Moji, my mom, she's Jehovah's Witness. She doesn't really like me. She's mean. She's this. I said, first of all, Oga, what are you doing with your life? Oh, I don't have anything doing, I said, go and get a job. Any job. Just get any job. He got a job. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to train as a fashion designer. I said, okay. I paid for the training. Now he's sewing clothing for his mother. He's doing that. And you're going to ask me, why do I have to jump through the hoops for my mother to love me? Your mother already loves you. What she is afraid of is that when she checks out, you won't be able to sustain yourself. And you know how people treat LGBTQIA all the way to Z people. So her concern, or your father's concern, is that you have the same opportunities as everybody else. And I'm not saying every parent is like that, but I'm saying in most cases. So this young man got himself together. He stopped hanging out. He stopped smoking Colorado. Guess what happened? He and his mom are like this. They call me on video and they're laughing and they're chatting. Cut your parents some slack. Parenting is a two-way street. The parent puts in and the child puts in. You guys expect your parents to carry everything, and that's not fair. Be kind, be compassionate, be empathetic, and understand that parents have traumas themselves. My name is Moji. Sorry, no makeup, just came from the gym. I'll talk to you soon.